Hi, my name is Bob Taylor, and I'm your host for this segment of Our Ventura TV. I'm here today with my guest, Barbara Hinton, and Barbara's from Ventura Art and Street Painting Festival. Good afternoon, Barbara.
Good afternoon, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's really great. Ventura Art and Street Painting Festival. Okay, explain that to me.
Well, I started an art festival back in 2009. And along the way, I got an idea to add some street painters, the people that color on the sidewalk with the vibrant pastel chalk. And so somebody said to me, you know, you should really combine those two things in the name because then it really says what it is. So that's why it's the Art Festival and the Street Painting Festival.
So the two, you've just come together and you do it all at once at one big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now of course, this is sidewalk chalk.
Yes.
It's got to be different than the chalk we used as kids on this.
It is. It has more oil in it, so they're really technically called chalk pastels.
And it still just washes away when it rains?
It does, and it's interesting, when there is no water, the chalk remains for months in some cases. Last year, the event takes place at the Ventura Harbor, as you know. Last year, the harbor chose to leave the things alone and not, hose them off or anything, and they were around for a month.
Oh, so people, even afterwards,
yes,
unless it gets a real hard rain or something, which this is Ventura County, it's not going to happen, they can go take a look at it for quite a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Isn't it?
So you do this festival and you do it in the Harbor District.
I do.
Do they give you a couple of blocks that you use, or how do you do that?
No, what I do is it takes place in the Harbor Village, and at the end of the village there's that grass area, so that we have the artists set up there with their booths. They're selling paintings, photography, pottery, what have you. And then the street painters create their works along the sidewalk, as you walk along the docks.
Okay.
And so the setting is wonderful, and some of the street painters have said, we love this festival because we're not in some parking lot, because a lot of those street painting festivals take place in a parking lot because there's a lot of blacktop, a lot of asphalt. So they get to do their thing right next to the water, the boats in the background. It's really beautiful.
And is it a free event for people to come look at?
It's a free community event, yes.
Okay, so now you have artists and you have the street painting. I understand how you say the artists that sell the pottery sell their paintings. I understand how an artist can go make a few dollars. What about a street painter? Do they just do it for the love of the chalk and the pastels?
They do, by and large. A lot of the people that come and come to our festival do have day jobs. Some of them are working as artists, but not all.
Do some of the artists that come to sell things, are they also part of this street painting sometimes, or are they totally different art groups?
That's funny that you asked that, actually. Last year, I had 2 artists that had booths that were also doing street paintings.
Oh, okay.
For a long time, I had one, and she's a local gal here in Ventura. She has a studio at Bella Arts, and she does a couple other things, but she had a booth there and was also doing a street painting and does a great job. And then last year, I had another woman from the Pasadena area, and she's a sculptor. And when she said, I'd love to do a street painting too. Is that possible? And I said, absolutely.
Well, you'd know this better than me, or better than I, but I find artists generally are extremely artistic with everything and then specialize in one thing generally.
I would tend to agree. They kind of find the thing that maybe, inspires them the most or something.
So a pottery person could very easily be doing the street painting or anything else along
You never
there.
know. You never know. Yeah, and I've got, the age range is interesting too. I've got, I think my youngest last year was 7, and the oldest was, well, we won't go there, but in their 60s.
So
doing the street painting on this hard sidewalk.
And you work with other nonprofits.
I do, and I actually started my own nonprofit this year to host the festival.
So the nonprofit that you started is the one that hosts your festival?
Correct. Ventura County Art Events
Ventura County Art Events.
Yes.
Okay, so people would donate to Ventura County Art Events, and then you would put on the art and street painting festival.
Correct, and hopefully in the future other festivals as well, art related festivals.
Now, do you collaborate with any of the other art groups that are in Ventura? Because I know there's a lot of you guys. Ventura is quite the art city.
Yeah, I do. Last year I had a nice collaboration with Buenaventura Art Association, of which I am a member. And they came to me, one of the other members came to me with an idea, and I liked it, and so he executed that. And what it was they had people doing live painting at the event, which was a wonderful addition.
Oh, that is
So they're painting
cool.
on canvas, And then they did like sort of a silent auction. Once the piece was done, people, if they liked it, they could, try to bid on it. And we split the proceeds with them. So,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was good. And then I have another collaboration in mind, but I won't say anything yet.
Oh, well, gotta say that as a surprise.
Exactly.
Okay, so, and you guys are a nonprofit. You're a nonprofit.
Yes, we are.
And now, what do you do where do you make your money to support your nonprofit? I mean, even nonprofits take money.
Right. Well, we have to cover our operating costs, and
Right.
we have certain expenses for the festival, obviously. So some of the money we raise goes to us to take care of those things. But the last couple years, we have donated proceeds to Food Share.
Oh, and you can't get a better group out than
Yeah.
Food Share.
They've been great.
Yeah, one out of every either 5 or 6 people in Ventura County depends on Food Share, and that's really great that anybody that can help them and collaborate to help them. Okay, so do you charge artists for their sidewalk squares that they use? And
No, we don't. I mean, they work really hard, so I, in fact, take good care of them. I should get them a masseuse, too, but I don't. I feed them and take care of them, and we really appreciate
where does your
them.
money come from?
I sell sponsorships of the chalk squares.
Oh, I see.
they're,
Okay.
The street paintings. So they're creating this wonderful art on the sidewalk, and it's a wonderful opportunity to sell sponsorships. And so a company can have their signage over a chalk square for the whole weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get help from the Harbor District, obviously.
They've been great to work with. They have really embraced this event, and it's become increasingly popular and very well attended.
Do you have a lot of people, as you grow and do your sidewalks, do you have a lot of people to sponsor those, or are you looking for more sponsors on a regular basis?
Well, I would love more sponsors, absolutely. And there are ways you can contact me. We'll talk about that maybe at the end of the show. No, we really appreciate the community support that we've had in the past, and I think we will again this year. And that's what makes it a wonderful community event.
Right. So do you, artists, are you open to any artists? Do artists apply for you? Do you pick your artists, or how does
It's
artists
a
get
juried
involved?
show, which means that we do have a group that takes a look. We want it to be a family-friendly show, so no nudity, no profanity, things
right.
like that. And so that's not what the jury's looking at, but that's something you can catch. If you're taking a look, they have to submit images. So artists fill out an application, they send some images of their work so we can have a look, and so we kind of know what to expect. And if they're juried in, then they're in the show.
And do you get artists from outside of Ventura County?
I do. I have had some, yeah. Some from LA. I've had, I think, some people from San Luis County. Most of them are Ventura County, but
Do you advertise for artists outside of the county?
in a sense, I do, yes. I send my call to artists, which is, letting people know we're having a show and, what the booth price is and so forth. I send that around to local art associations. So I sent it to Pasadena and Simi Valley and Santa Barbara and I think even San Luis. So I kind of covered the 2 counties.
Okay, now, so people just go to the Harbor District and park at one of the parking spots near the Harbor District and then just walk the whole thing?
Yeah.
So actually, it's so much better than a parking lot, because in a parking lot, you have to want to go to that parking lot just for the art. At the Harbor District, you're going to go for other things and still get involved in the art.
Exactly. And so while you're there, you can get an ice cream cone, you can have a meal,
Which is so much harder to do when you were just in a parking lot in the old days.
Exactly.
So you've probably run across a lot of trials and tribulations as you were building this.
Oh, no, never. Yes, I did, Bob. Yes, I did. It's been a real learning experience. I kind of look back at myself, several years ago and think, whatever made you think you could do this? It was just this idea I was very passionate about. I learned a lot.
But you got it to where it is.
I did.
And now, do you see changes coming up for it, or do you like what it is and just try to make it bigger?
Ooh. Both, really. One thing I'm really wanting to add this year, and I'm pretty certain I'll do it, is I want to have a kids area. And so I want to get our local population more involved in this.
Right.
So other festivals do this. It's not an original idea, but you sell a little box of chalk and you mark out some small squares for the children to play with. And it's beautiful because you put all these little squares together and it looks like a patchwork quilt, very colorful and
how
wonderful.
cute is that?
And it's so fun seeing the little kids doing their thing.
Do you approach schools or anything for their art students?
I have, and that's something I need to, keep focusing on. It's not always easy to get a hold of the teachers and so on.
Let's talk volunteers.
Okay.
Okay, so you're a volunteer. You started this as a volunteer, you're a volunteer person, you depend on volunteers. Once again, getting to the schools, getting to the artists, getting to all that is all volunteers. The day takes volunteers. How many volunteers would you say it takes throughout the whole course of the year to put this on? Not just the day of, but like you said, contacting people, your board, going after sponsors, all of that. How many volunteers would you think it took?
Well, I think it's under 100. Really,
That's
the
still
bulk.
huge.
Yeah, really the bulk of it though is the weekend of. We like to have a lot of people out, watching. We have, because we have artists on the lawn and we have the street painters along the sidewalks. You kind of have two different things going. So I want to make sure the artists are happy. If we need to help them with something, sometimes if they need to go away from their booth for a minute, we have volunteers that will go sit in their booth.
Okay,
We call that booth sitting.
okay.
And then, with the street painters, we want to make sure they stay hydrated. So we always have a lot of bottled water, and I've got volunteers that'll walk around, just check with them. Do you need anything? How you doing? It's like they're guests in my home in a way. I want them to feel that way.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
special. I mean,
yeah.
you can tell that you're really passionate about
Thank you.
about the things you're putting on and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you basically are the full-time unpaid person working this throughout the year.
Well, I have gotten a salary, very small, kind of a stipend in the past, and I don't know that I will this year because of some of the startup costs associated with setting up our own nonprofit, and that's absolutely fine because I'm really doing it because I love it.
Right, you're obviously
Yeah.
in it for the dollars.
Yeah, no.
But you don't have another job. I mean, this is what
I
you
do. I work part-time in my husband's business.
Okay, so it's just a part-time, the
I'm
rest of
a
it's all
part-time
for this.
artist myself.
Do you ever do any of the sidewalk stuff?
No, I've learned. I've had them teach me a lot. Well, I did help a woman one time, but she just, I was just blending.
Well, just blending. I wouldn't even know what that is. So
Well, they
that's the
teach
artist in
you.
you that's
Yeah.
telling you that.
Yeah.
All right, now if artists want to get a hold of you because they want to be part of this, how do they apply? I mean, where do they get the application and who do they talk to?
A couple different ways. I do have a website. It's VenturaArtFestival.com. I am on Facebook, Ventura Art Festival, Ventura Art and Street Painting Festival. I have a Facebook page, which they can look up. Another way would be to email me, Barbara@VenturaArtFestival.com.
So everything is basically, you Google Ventura Art Festival, they're going to find Barbara somewhere.
I think they should, yes.
Okay, and that would be for artists, and they would go and download
Or
an app.
street painters.
Or street painters.
Yeah.
Now,
Anybody in the community that wants to do some chalking on the sidewalk
what about
too.
sponsors?
Sponsors can find me that way too. Yeah.
Okay, now do you have an outreach for sponsors? Is there a way that you go after sponsors?
I do.
And you do that personally yourself?
Yeah.
So you just smile and dial and say, hey, you want to tie up with art?
Smile and dial. I hadn't heard that. That's funny. Yes, that's what I do. And we know people, that my husband was involved with the Ventura Chamber for a long time, and as was I. And, we know a lot of people in the community, and we've been very blessed to have their support.
I think getting involved in the local community, like the Chambers of Commerce, which represents so many businesses, is very important for these kind of things, because it does take an awful lot of collaboration, takes an awful lot of teamwork, and it takes an awful lot of people with the same passions to keep something going year after year after year and continue it, especially when you're talking just under 100 volunteers. You do those things that are 2 or 3 volunteers, that's one thing. When you start talking 80, 90 volunteers, that's something else.
Well, as an organizer, it creates another little job for you, because you gotta organize your volunteers,
Right.
and check them in and check them out and thank them, and and grateful for them, of course.
All right, one more time, what's that website to come and find you?
It's VenturaArtFestival.com.
VenturaArtFestival.com. Thank you, Barbara, for bringing us all this information.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
No problem at all. Well, we've come to an end. My name is Bob Taylor. I've been your host today for this segment of Our Ventura TV. We've been here today with my guest, Barbara Hinton, and we've been talking about Ventura Art and Street Painting Festival. Until next time, thank you very much.